going on to all my Only Murders in the Building fans, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. We are back breaking down this second season, episode 7, titled Flipping the Pieces, a perfectly titled episode in which we see Mabel flipping the pieces of her past to see if she had anything to do with Bunny's death while getting the help of Theo. Meanwhile, Oliver and Charles get the help from Detective Williams, who's back in town. Oh yeah, this is going to be a fun spoiler review, and I'm so excited to be back with you all. But before we get into the discussion, if you all enjoy prediction videos, ranking videos, and my thoughts on some of the most recent movie and TV news, well, make sure you're giving me a follow on Instagram as well as on TikTok. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the community. If you all enjoy early movie reviews, weekly and daily TV breakdowns, and live streams, well, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. If you all enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up as well as share it. But more importantly, share your thoughts on the 7th episode. Who's the killer? How many killers are there? Who's stalking Lucy? What do we think about Mabel and her coping mechanism and her loss of her father? How that parallels to maybe foreshadowing the relationship between Theo and Teddy? It's so much to go over, and I'm so excited to be here with you all. But again, leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments below. With all that being said, full spoilers ahead as we open the episode with a peek into Mabel's past with her father and their relationship, but more importantly, their common interest in puzzles, which relate that to the present timeline as she's trying to put the pieces to her life together. We see Mabel wakes up in Theo's pace. She wakes up, hits him over the head with a lamp, but he's just there to help her, but she doesn't want to believe him. But more importantly, she doesn't remember stabbing the glitter killer. So now we're like, okay, what else has she forgotten, right? And we talked about last week's episode, the whole cutting off that dude's finger, which, you know, we're going to take Mabel's side on that story. But again, she forgets things. It's a coping mechanism. When she has trouble, when she has trauma, she tries to bury it. She tries to suppress it. When we get to that moment, I'm excited to break it down, because one of the things that I love about this new season is just peeling the onion layers back and figuring out what motivates our characters, what ticks our characters, what deep, dark secrets do they have. This was a Mabel-focused episode, and I was here for it. But getting back into the actual breakdown, fuses all hell, Theo attempts to help her by telling her how she ended up in his place. As we get the flashback of what happened on the train, he witnessed the incident as the glitter person took the evidence and they dropped their key card, and we see it says Coney Island Security. So in my head, I'm like, whoa, who's the security guard? Who do we know in Coney Island? Is that where Jan, is that where her prison is? And I'm just going in my head. I'm still not certain on who this, and I told y'all, and we've been talking about it for weeks, I think there are more than one killer in this case. I think there is an actual killer, and I think there's maybe multiple puppet masters behind a puppet master doing all of this, which might hint to the power of the city going down. Who is in power? We'll get to that later, but he saw it all. Theo saw everything happen, and he saw that key card being dropped. But more importantly, who has the evidence? Let's get back into it here. As all this is going on, she doesn't want to believe Theo. She doesn't want his help, because remember, this is the same guy that allowed Oscar to sit in jail for 10 years based on Zoe's death. Which, by the way, I've been reading you all's comments, and I know one of the big comments that I see on a weekly basis, where is Oscar? Like, is it a situation where behind the scenes the actor wasn't available to shoot season 2? Is it purposeful that he's not involved right now? But I don't believe Oscar has anything to do with the killing, but his dad, some redemption, revenge. It's, again, let me know how you all feel about Oscar, or I should say the lack of Oscar, and if he has any connections to this case at all. Let's talk about that in the comment section. But we're going to catch back up to Theo and Mabel, because that's really the heart and the meat and potatoes of the episode. But let's check in with Oliver and Charles and what's going on with them, with Detective Williams, who has plenty of questions for the two. As she was indeed out of town, she couldn't get this case off her mind, and she has this feeling that Oliver and Charles is hiding something, and we know they are. They can't keep a secret, right? As we fast forward to the next scene, we see that Oliver, he remembers that he left the knife into his apartment. Meanwhile, this is so funny, they are like, they think they're being secretive. They think they're like whispering, but they're like yelling, right? She can hear everything they're saying. As we cut back to them deciding to ultimately trust Detective Williams by giving her the knife, because she wants to help them. She wants to clear their name. And again, I love her role in this show. Theo. I need more of Detective Williams because she just fits so well within the minutia of this crew. And again, just seeing Charles and Oliver trying to escape and figuring out, can they trust her? That stuff was fun. Again, we didn't get a lot from Oliver and Charles in this episode, besides just like little moments of, again, we know that Oliver is still dealing with the fact that he doesn't know if William is really his son or not. Meanwhile, we see Charles again kind of navigating his life, and of course this relationship he has with Lucy, who we'll talk about here in a second when we wrap up the video. But again, we get a lot of them, but I still enjoy when we get time with them. But let's go back to, again, the foundation of this episode, which was Mabel, which was just so great. Let's check back in with them as we see Mabel is determined to find who's behind the killing, and she gathers all the files as her and Theo have found out the location of the security guard. Again, who worked there? What do they do now? Was this they lose their job and they, like, again, what's the motives? What's their motivation? Were they hired for a job? I said it last week with Cinda. Maybe she hired this person desperate for money to get this big story. We'll get into the theories a little bit later, but back into the discussion. Meanwhile, we see Theo in his house arrest bracelet needs to get a charge, and Mabel shows him the things that he missed out as a kid, and they're having a bit of a moment to kind of bond, but more importantly, a lot of parallels going on with just kind of how he feels like he doesn't remember what happened to Zoe. Did he push her? Did she fall? Relate that to Mabel. Did she stab Bunny? Was it just, all a part of her memory and her trauma and the coping mechanism, which, again, diving deeper into this character. And this is really the stuff I loved about this episode, as we see this flashback as she can relate to what's going on with Theo, because she goes back to having this conversation with her father. And again, we see that, and it was kind of apparent at certain flashback that he was getting sick, that something was going on with him. We find out that he did have cancer. He passed away when she was 7 years old, and relate that to what's going on here with the thing going on with Theo and them just having this kind of shared trauma of something that happened in the past. And Theo, he's trying to run away from his trauma, which right now is his dad, and relating that to what happened to Mabel when she was 7, and just kind of suppressing her feelings of what happened to her dad dying, and just kind of putting a different spin on this puzzle, right? And just trying to forget the pieces of that particular part of her life. I thought that was so excellently displayed and showcased within this episode, which we actually see again with him passing away. And as all this is going on, she looks in the sink. She notices that the glittered killer was there. This is the location. He walks back into place. Meanwhile, and at this moment, Theo is outside. I don't know what he was doing, but he's outside. The killer walks back in. He has his bandages. He's covering up from his stab wounds. Unfortunately, Mabel makes a noise in the locker. He's unlocking all the doors. He opens the right one. She pushes him. And I'm just thinking in my head, why couldn't you, for 2 seconds, just like take off his mask and say, "You're the killer. Get out of there." Because she can hold her own. We know Mabel. She can hold, she got a nice little 1-2. She can stab a mofo really quickly. So she can hold her own. But I just wish that she would have, of course, it's a show. They're not going to reveal everything right now. We still have 3 episodes left. But I'm like, God damn it. I wanted to know who was under that mask. But she runs out of there. The killer runs past them. Meanwhile, she has gathered the bag of the killer. And there's clothes in there. There's a shirt. There's a gray shirt, but the only thing that's missing is the match, right? They can't get the thumbprint with the blood on there. So that's obviously a big thing. But let's rewind. We know the killer, or at least one of the killers. It's a tall individual. It seems to be a male. They seem to have allergies. They seem to have worked as a security guard. I'm just going in the Rolodex of characters that could have been in this position to have worked for security, helping people and serving people. I think of Ivan, right? And honestly, that character, Ivan, I know a lot of you all have predicted Ivan. Some things are starting to add up. And also, who's also worked in kind of a service kind of area? I'm thinking of not only Ivan, what about the gentleman that works a part of the fan club? I know he said he removed mold from the building. Who do you all think this killer is, and who worked for Coney Island? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. But getting back into the breakdown here, time to see the whole picture. We cut to the night in which Mabel saw the killer escape her apartment as Bunny died, and she remembers that it wasn't her fault. And again, this is a coping mechanism. She remembers, she puts the pieces to the puzzle back together, and she has a moment with Theo. I was wrong about you. They had this bond over the relationship of this episode. She gives him the advice, talk to your father. Don't run away from your past. And I think it is important for him to talk to Theo, because right now we're thinking Theo is the father of William, but also Theo might know a thing or two about who this new killer may or may not be. But again, before we wrap up the episode, I really do want to applaud the writers of this episode of just, again, the shared trauma and the pain that Theo and Mabel are going through and have went through, and how they can maybe help each other out and work together. And again, her giving her that advice to talk to your dad, because this season also seems to be a very dad-focused season, whether it's Oliver being a dad or maybe not being a dad, Charles and his relationship with his father, relate that to everything going on with Mabel and her father, and Theo and Teddy, and of course, you know, the whole situation going on with just fathers seems to be a very central theme of this season. So we're going to keep that in mind when we go to next week's episode and we see if there's any other father or daddy issues going on with our characters. But wrapping up the episode at the diner, the gang's finally back together. Mabel shows Charles a picture she found, in which we see a picture of Lucy, and we notice that she's at Charles' apartment, which, just a little side note, Lucy's mom, Emma, I believe is her name, she's a terrible mom. Why are you allowing your 13-year-old daughter just to go and visit your ex-boyfriend in New York? Like, to me, her parenting skills are very terrible, or maybe she doesn't even know, which is even more worse, that Lucy's just sneaking out without her knowing. Anyway, she's at Charles' apartment. There's a blackout. Now, again, I think it's not a coincidence that it's just a blackout. I think that one of the killers, a person of power, is doing this. Power. Who has the most power in this show so far? One would say Cinda. And again, what we found out from Poppy, she always wants a story. Does she have anything to do with this blackout? Is it a coincidence? Is it another person that works within like a security department or has power over electricity of the city? Let me know your thoughts. Who's the killer? How many are there? I still have my theories on Rose Cooper, and maybe the killer is a grandson or the son of Rose Cooper, and this whole three-way love triangle. Like, where's Bunny's mom? Where's she been this whole time? Leonore, I believe, is her name. The importance of the picture still has to be there. Is Rose Cooper really dead? Where's Alice? Where's Oscar? There's so much going on, and there's only 3 episodes left. Are we going to end on a cliffhanger since we know we're getting season 3? I don't know about all that, but I'm just in my head, and I'm still loving the hell out of this show, but more importantly, I love interacting with you all. So let me know, again, your working theories, your Easter eggs, your details you all picked out from this episode. What did you think about the writing, the performances, and the mystery box that we still haven't uncovered yet? Let's talk about that in the comment section. Again, if you stuck around to this point in the video, I really want to thank you all. Do me a favor. If you're at this point in the video, go ahead and put a heart in the comment for I can know the love that you all are showing this channel and these breakdowns. I appreciate you all. Just a friendly reminder before you leave to give the video a thumbs up, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel where we talk about this show, so many other shows, movies, and live discussions. Thank you again for watching the video. Hope you all are staying safe. Hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Come and join the family. Check out my other reviews for this season. Check out my most recent review, and we'll catch you all on the next breakdown.